today?
Good. How are you?
Good, man.
A little tired. Long weekend so far.
Yeah, I feel that. I had two different graduations this weekend, one for my fiance and one for myself, and it was a lot of sitting.
And talking to people. I remember
Oh
those
yeah,
days.
totally. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna wait for this program to load. My computer's running kind of slow. I'm just gonna. So we had a jungle game from you on Trundle,
Yeah,
and
these
we
were
had
two
an
horrible games.
and we had an 80 carry game from you on Varus.
Yes.
Okay. So I will say, yeah, I remember these games now. Okay. I'll say in general, I think there was a lot that's improved. I could tell like instantly from watching the Varus game. I'll just give you like an overview of what I saw. So from the Varus game, um, the CSing actually did really improve in lane, and I noticed you had a lot more mana in lane. So
Yeah, I wasn't
like
using abilities as much to cover up for shit CSing.
the things that we worked on like got a lot better. So I could really tell on that, and I could tell your CSing improved too. You actually got a lot more CS this game than I'd seen you do in the previous game.
Yep.
I'm gonna run this file real quick so we can see this. Pull this graph up. Okay. So that was better. Um, I think, and then in the Trundle game, we'll talk about jungle. There are a lot of like things you have to think about with jungle. Um, I think just in general with your jungling, I do think you do need to take a few more risks early on, and that's just my approach to how jungle gets played.
Okay.
If
Which
you
is
look
going
at
to
like
totally change.
yeah. So if you look at um like you as a jungler are going to be most impactful in the early stages of the game, in the first like 20 minutes roughly,
Hmm.
because that's like your time where you can kind of move around the map. You kind of get to dictate the pace of the game. Where you go determines um kind of what your team can do. So my approach to jungle and how I view the jungle is that you have to view your first couple clears are your most important of the jungle, because you really have to be thinking about where you're going. And generally when you jungle, uh, you clear towards one side of the map, right? So you say you're going to start on the bottom side and then clear towards the top side, or start on the top side and clear towards the bottom side. And then when you get to your destination, um, you're going to look for a play, right? Whether that is looking on the top lane, looking on the mid lane, looking on the bot lane, based on wherever you end up.
Hmm.
Generally, that's how it's going to go. And it's kind of constantly evolves because you do need to also be looking at the lanes to see what you can and can't do.
Oh.
Um, I think the biggest thing we can work on with your jungling is a little bit of efficiency when you're clearing the camps, um, but also, looking at the map and understanding what's going on as well. Um, so I know you said last week. I'm gonna share the screen right now. I'm gonna show you something. I did some math on the builds that people are currently running on Trundle and Warwick, and
Nice. Yeah, those are the two. I mean, I'm playing a little bit of Graves now just because everybody's playing
ooh,
Graves.
yeah, Graves is a good one. Okay.
Yeah, I hate the build that I've tried with him the last three games. The problem is OP.GG had all the lethality items,
Right.
and I felt like that was a terrible build. But I watched a couple streamers build Phantom Dancer into what was the second item? I forget what the second item was.
We're
Oh,
gonna
into
do.
Black Cleaver, and I like that a lot
Okay.
better.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. So first thing I'm gonna go over with you is just starting. Like I said, I think the first clear on the jungle is really important. And with the two champions you said you played, Trundle and Warwick, what they're known for is a lot of their sustain. Trundle's really good at dueling and like counter ganking because of the passive on his Q. Stealing attack damage or reducing attack damage. I can't recall which one it is off the top of my head. So he's really good at dueling other junglers. So your strategy when you play Trundle is that you want to kind of get a read on where the other jungler is and kind of meet him there.
Okay.
And the reason you want to do that is because like you are going to outduel him and whoever he's with most of the time, right? If you're in a 2v2, if you're ganking top lane, he shows up at top lane, it's 2v2. Usually you're going to be able to take one person out of the fight, either with your slows, with your AD stealing, whatever. You're going to basically make them useless. So as a result, you want to maximize your sustain. And how we're going to do that is we're going to start with potions, with refillable potion instead of your rejuve beads. So rejuve beads. Oh, this is gonna rejuve
Again.
beads. So rejuve beads give you regeneration based on your base health regen,
Uh-huh.
and your potions give you healing based on it's just flat, right? With Trundle in particular, the difference is pretty different. If you look at the graphs I have here, you'll see that as your base HP 5 increases, there will be a point eventually where it does balance out, where beads will be better. But because it's based on your base HP regen, um, if you're looking for sustain on your first clear, it may be better for you to start the potions. Um,
Interesting.
and the way I did this math is if you couple the healing from your potion healing lasts 12 seconds, and your W lasts 8 seconds, and your W increases sources of healing by I think it's 25 or 50%. So if you can couple that together, along with killing whatever camp you're doing, because Trundle's passive also gives healing when an enemy unit dies, um, you're gonna find your clears gonna be much better. You're gonna be much healthier as you clear the jungle.
Okay. I love that on Trundle. On Warwick, it looks like it still makes sense. But see, the only reason why I go the beads is because Warwick is still so healthy coming out of the jungle
Right.
that, like, I'd rather have the edge on getting my Tiamat.
Yeah, and I mean that was the other point too, right? Is the Tiamat. So if you're gonna go Tiamat, I think it's fine on Warwick. Trundle, it's a bit questionable, especially if you do a full clear like you did this game.
Okay.
So you kind of have to think about what your route needs to be, and I'll tell you how to do that. We're gonna look at the game you're in,
Okay.
and we'll talk a little bit about how we decide how we do our route. So I'm gonna just go to champ select and see what we have. So we have Kayn. So there are a lot of things you want to think about before you go into the game on jungle. Um, the first thing is, kind of what do your lanes look like, right? Like which lanes do you think? I mean, looking at it right now, like you have lanes that are certainly more gankable than the others, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, like for example, your top lane here, Teemo Garen, you generally want to gank people who, um, there are a bunch of factors that go into it, but the two big ones are they going to be able to help you at all to secure the kill or get the flash or whatever you need to get, right? Do they have like crowd control? Do they have slows? Um, and then the other thing you need to consider is, how does the matchup play out overall? Is it like a matchup that's very volatile? Is it something that your presence is really going to influence a lot? Um, the big example I like to use for this is the Fiora Riven matchup. It's a very skill-based matchup, and they both hit power spikes, at the same points very early and around level 6. So your influence in the Fiora Riven matchup does a lot. So does that make sense so far?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is kind of a poor example only because, like, the bot lane, I feel like we have a lot of advantage with Leona's CC, but then we have Soraka's healing, which kind of balances that out.
Yeah.
I wish I was on the other side of the Swain matchup, right? Because Swain just has godlike CC. Definitely somebody that's easy to gank through. And then the Teemo Garen, I mean, Teemo's really only going to be able to apply blind pressure until level
Right.
6.
Right. So your lanes aren't super gankable. The bot lane is probably, the best bet. Just looking at it, in my opinion. I don't know about the Yasuo. That may change. And then the other thing you want to think about when you're starting a game is how's their jungler going to clear? What do you think Kayn is going to do starting off this game?
So usually Kayn is Raptors red, blue.
Yeah, he can go Raptors red, wolves blue. He can do that. Usually they want to farm to 6. That's when they really get going. So, and with that in mind, right, you also want to think about who's going to clear faster between you two. Probably
Uh,
you. It
yeah.
depends on what route you take. If you go for a standard like 3 camp clear, you will clear much faster than Kayn doing his standard 3 or 4 camp clear, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's important to think about because in your position in this matchup, right, you're going to be a lot better earlier on in the game, and then as the game goes on, you're going to kind of fall off relative to Kayn, depending on what happens. So your goal in this matchup is you want to get on the map early, and you want to either like stop Kayn from making his ganks, or you just want to make your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, those are just some things to think about when you play jungle. Is just think about those things when you start the game. Um, the big thing I noticed, we're not going to talk too much about your first clear, but the big thing I noticed is you want to make sure that you're using your Q reset effectively. So you're just gonna your Q resets your autos, so you're gonna auto Q auto, and that's just most efficient. You do it sometimes, but you don't do it all the time. The other
Oh,
thing you can
interesting. Kind of like Cho'Gath. Okay, that makes sense.
what's Cho'Gath's reset?
Well, isn't because he can get a quick auto in after he E's with his whatever those
Oh, I didn't know
spikies
that.
are. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like
Oh,
for CSing because he's so shit at it, it's very
yeah,
helpful for me to do that. Okay, so it works the same on Trundle.
yeah. And then you make the right approach here by killing the small ones first.
Yep.
Um, you do want to think about that when you're playing a champion. You know, when you're clearing the jungle, right? Is what is my most like effective clear, and how am I going to take the least amount of damage?
I'm so
The
bad
other,
at it with Graves because his knockback and stuff. It's been
oh yeah,
so
he's
hard to
weird.
get rid.
So the other like efficiency wise, the other thing you really want to think about here is remember how we talked about kiting with your AD carry
Yeah, yeah.
play? That's also important when you're kiting jungle camps. It's not as important as on the champions you're playing because they have, a bit more sustain. But if you find yourself playing other champions that have less sustain, or if you find yourself playing champions that are a bit harder to clear with, this may become important. So, okay. Um, so when you're killing the camp, right, you want to auto, and then you want to kite, and this reduces the amount of damage you're going to take from the camp, but also it's efficient because it gets you to where you want to go. So you just want to like auto kite, auto kite, and then you've saved essentially 2 seconds, between camps. And in some matchups, it does make a difference.
Yeah, I've also been trying to do because I've noticed that specifically with Trundle. So like his W, I'll try to drop it
All
because
right.
you usually only get one per camp.
Mhm.
But it's okay on Wolves because I just have blue, so it's not a mana issue anymore to drop it at the end and then race over to the next cap. I don't know if I do that here though.
All right. Specifically in this matchup, like we talked about with your clear speed relative to Kane, we don't know where he started in this game, right? We assume he started on the bot side, but he could have started Raptors or Red. We don't know. I would, in this matchup in particular, um, I'd skip the Raptors here because I just want to get on the map as fast as possible.
Yeah,
Um,
I already said I fucked that up in the video because
yeah,
even though because you want the red to burn the Raptors anyway,
yeah. It's better for you to have the red before you do that.
right?
But even so, another choice you might have would be to just um, do your blue buff, do your wolves, do your red, just go to top lane.
Yep.
Um, right, that's another option. You have a lot of options in the jungle, and it's kind of hard to make sense of it at first. So I definitely encourage you if you're going to continue playing jungle to try out different options. Like try out a level 2 gank every once in a while, see if that works, or try out a 3 camp clear or a 4 camp clear, see if that works. A lot of it is experimentation too, but there's also a lot of mind games that go on at the high level. Um, and then when you're clearing your camps, one thing you can do to help understand one of the challenges I had when watching this replay was actually like I don't know what kind of information's on the map because we're not looking at lanes. And it's really important that you're looking at the lanes as a jungler to see what cooldowns they're using. Like,
Okay.
whether it is just oh they've used their dash or they've used their big damage ability, or they've used even like a flash or an ignite or a heal or something like that. It's a bit bigger. So when you're clearing camps, one of the default keybinds is you go to F2. I think it's F1 through F5. It'll allow you to jump between characters.
Really?
So yeah, I don't know how I have mine set up a bit different from the default because I have F1 is myself, and then F2 through F5 are it's usually in ranked it's top jungle mid AD high place support. So it'll just jump through your character list down here. So for me, my F2 is Teemo, my F3 is Yasuo, my F4 is Paisa, and then my F5 is Leona, right?
Okay.
So if you're looking at the lanes before you head up there, you'll be able to see if cooldowns are used. It's also important that you see where the minion waves are, so that you can say, is this lane gankable? At early levels, like we've talked about, the minions do a lot of damage. So if there's a big minion wave built up in a lane, might not be gankable.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really know how or what the fuck happened to Leona at this point.
Right. We don't know what's going on, period. I mean, I think from what I can tell up here in the top lane, it's very gankable. Kane just showed on you.
Yeah, I popped
I didn't.
over and saw it,
Yeah.
but I mean, and that's why I pull the red into the bush here so that I
Right.
can.
I think that's wise. I think this is a bit greedy considering you know Kane's up there.
Okay.
He can just walk over and kill you. But I think generally though in this matchup you're not going to take this route. I think generally in this matchup you're going to try and get on the map first.
Oh.
Okay, he just died. So Swain probably just using Knight.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
We saw it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The only play I really want to talk about, I think it's this dive you do here. I do want to talk about this because I like the idea of this dive. I think there are just better ways for us to do it.
Do I pillar
and
her?
I think the biggest. Pardon?
Do I lead with pillar?
So, okay, you have options here, right? The problem here is that you don't know what's been used for Misfortune, right?
Yep.
If we look back a bit earlier, when we're walking towards the bot lane, we're looking at mid, which is good. We're seeing what Yasuo and Kayn and Garen are doing there. We are looking at bot lane actually. That's actually pretty good. Okay, and we don't know if anything's been used, right? They're either not. They've obviously like fought in bot lane, but if something was used, we didn't see it.
Right.
So, I think your best option here. First of all, if you're gonna go for this dive, and like if you're committed to this, you get 8 seconds on your W, like we talked about. So I think you want your W to kind of span this region, right? A bit further, in this direction,
Mm-hmm.
so that you're gonna get that when you're on the tower as well, and she can't just run away from you with her passive. But yeah, you make a great point where you should just lead with E. Like worst case scenario, you just stop her back. Best case scenario, you get the kill there and you're able to flash out, like you said you were gonna do. I think that's actually a really good play. I think this has a good decision. So where you're gonna throw your pillar right here.
Yep.
Because what you want her to do is you want her to walk into you, right? And this is true of like all skill shots. Is if they're in that like, I call it a sweet spot, right? Like in between the tower and the wall. If they're in that spot, if you throw a skill shot at them, they can't dodge side to side, right?
Yep.
So basically, they're gonna get hit by it. So if you pillar right here, she's either, I don't know what her decision's gonna be. I think she's either forced to run like up like this, or she's forced to run like this. And you can.
But that makes sense with where, assuming I do go W first, which it would be better to lead with pillar because we're assuming she doesn't have vision.
Right.
The W gives her a lot of heads up. Placing that W in a more central location allows me to back out the other way because we know where Kayn is, so we know that I have the entire bot jungle to run to.
You are able to do this.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you're gonna just run in here. You're gonna chilling smite. You're gonna auto Q auto, and maybe that's gonna get the kill. As we see in the clip here, I think she has heal, so that's not gonna work out. But like, she might even have flash.
Oh, I didn't pillar though. That's the most brutal part about this.
So I think she had heal there. But how the decision looks if this doesn't work is, let's say we throw the pillar here, right? And we just, we throw the pillar here. We stop her back. We realize, hey, we're not gonna be able to get the kill. That's fine. The other option that you have here is you just go to his Krug camp here.
Yeah.
And you check and you see if that's up and you try and take that from him, because he's in the mid lane and you can deny that. And if he comes, it's a different scenario. If he comes to you, I think with the way things play out right now is you may not want to take that. That may be hard.
Yeah, just walk out. Well, we don't have to clear the camp, right? We can just take the 70 gold and then walk out.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you can make that decision a bit differently.
And I think I lead with smite there, right? Smite Q auto Q auto.
You do lead with, so you E smite auto Q auto, and because your goal when you're fighting against her is you just want to get her, what's it called off? Her strut.
Yeah, her little. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to get her extra movement speed off so you can catch up to her.
Yep.
Like that's the goal. Right, so.
And Kane just starts counter jungling me pretty hard.
Yeah, he does a good job of it this game. And he only gets that opportunity because we commit to that dive, right? If we don't do that dive, he cannot do that.
Yep.
Yep. So, okay, I gotta look at other stuff. I'm gonna just skip over a little bit. Most of the issues with the clear are, not using the Q effectively. If you're able to do that effectively, auto Q, auto, your clears get much better, you clear faster, and you're able to do things.
I can take that to the practice tool and just get a feel for what I'm
That's not too
looking
bad.
at.
Okay, before you make the decision to walk down to bot, you need to look at where the wave's at here. Like, you need to look at both where your waves are and where their waves are. I think you can... I don't
Skip
think
it.
you really need to make that decision. You can just skip that. That's gonna die before you get there.
Yep.
The other thing I do want to talk about with you at some point is gonna be minion control, and a couple rules behind that. I might just take the time now. I don't think there's much in this replay for a bit. Just generally, you do need to make more risks with your pathing and where you choose to go. That's the biggest thing in this matchup in particular, because if you take no risks and you guys farm evenly, he will outscale you
Okay.
as a champion.
Do you think I can take him out right now, though? I mean, that's what feels so bad on Trundle right now, is that, and why I take the bead first, right? Is because
Right.
if I'm successful on my first gank and my first clear, then I go Tiamat, right? I don't do Flint finished Hunter's Knife boots.
Right.
This is only because I have a scuffed first clear, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a hard decision. I mean, in this matchup in particular,
Because I feel like Kane just would womp on me in this situation.
it's just different at this level, right? At the professional level, people play Trundle because he is a good duelist with his Q. He has great sustain with his passive and W. The E is very disruptive, and then the ult steals stats from tanks. In this game, in particular, the only two people that are really going to be building tanky are Garen and Swain, and neither of them get to the point where they're like uber tanky.
Right.
Like, think of a Sejuani, getting the bonuses from Aftershock, and I believe she gets bonuses from other things as well. So you're not really in a situation where tank stealer Trundle is viable. I think your best bet is to go into the duelist mode. Try and mess with him a bit earlier. I think right now you probably can.
Okay.
Just because of how Kayn is a physical damage dealer, and you using your Q weakens him a lot, right?
Okay.
So this fight is important. Generally when you fight, you want to hit the biggest damage target first. So I think in this case it is Misfortune here, but I'm not certain because I haven't seen the items in a while.
Yeah, I don't think we checked the items before. The last item vision we have is on Wraith Camp.
Right. So I think it's important that you're looking at, what items people have. I think this is well played. But again, in fights, auto Q auto.
Yep.
And then you have opportunity here as well, because you've just taken Kayn off the map. Another decision you can make here is you can go counter jungle. Right?
Yeah,
So
that's a good call.
You can go into his Raptors, you can go into his...
normally what I'd be looking to do here is probably solo Dragon, but because Garen's knocking tower down, I'm like, what do I do? And you're right, I should have just gone in the jungle.
Yeah. I mean, you also need to look at that tower, right? Look at the health and say, can I make that decision? Where is the tower at? Like, am I going to be able to stop this? What can I do?
Right.
So the dragon may still have been the correct decision. You can also counter jungle. Either of those are good options.
Oh, I do the dragon. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I actually do think this is smart. The other area of the game where you really have an impact as a jungler, besides the first 15 or 20 minutes, is how you deal with objectives. And the big thing that you need to consider when you do that is that you want to reduce the risk on that getting stolen as much as possible, right? So a few steps you can take to make that happen are you pull this out, right? So that somebody can't just come over the wall or shoot a skill shot and take it. It takes a bit more time, but it is worth it if you're trying to reduce the risk. And also, you want to look at how much damage your smite does. So look at the icon right here. You're at 540, right? And that's important to know because roughly, plus 100 damage to that. And this goes for any jungler, not just Trundle. You want to use some kind of ability to combo with Smite so that you're more likely to get it. So in the case of Trundle, I'd auto Q Smite, right?
Okay,
Because
that makes
that's
sense.
going to give a burst of damage that will allow you to take the objective more likely than not, right? A better example of this is like Kha'Zix, whose Q is going to do like 300 damage with his Smite. So, but this works for any champion, timing Lee Sin Q, timing whatever. Does that make sense?
Yep. No, it
Okay,
makes
cool.
total sense. I usually what I end up doing is just my mind shuts off and I'm fingering D and I'm looking at the number above the dragon's head and I'm just waiting. But it makes a lot more sense to
Yeah,
have that combo with another move that's not just an auto attack to
yeah, it's
make more
important to have that
damage.
foresight. Okay, and then there's an interesting decision here to talk about. I think there's a better way. Game timer. 10:30. Okay. So we're gonna go farm a camp, and then we see our friend Leona pinging for assistance. Okay, let's see what they do here. So we're looking at it where they're looking. We just saw Leona miss E, and what we wanna okay. What is our goal in this fight? Like target selection is really important. And I think there are some questions that we need to ask here too, with who's the most important target, because like there is no really correct answer here. You can make an argument for Soraka just like you can make an argument for
I think,
um
and I don't remember what I do here, but with my knowledge where it sits today, I'd like to hope that I run up toward the misfortune just because I've got both. I've got three targets dealing damage to her as opposed to trying to neutralize the Soraka.
right. That's actually a really like interesting question, and I wasn't sure about this when I watched it at first because I almost thought like with your auto Q auto and smite and alt, you could probably kill Soraka, which like that lane itself's a really interesting dynamic because like damage on Soraka is worth more than damage on Misfortune, because of how her healing works.
Mm-hmm.
Because her healing drains her total Soraka's total max health for healing. So at first I was like, maybe you can just go hit Soraka and just burst her and then turn on Misfortune. But
Well, I don't even have Tiamat now, though. I mean, I feel like
yeah,
I'm almost like a support in this regard, right? Everything
yeah,
that I
that's
do
true.
in this fight is really to either zone Soraka out or
Right.
take Fort Misfortune out because I don't think I have the damage to do either of them
Okay.
to
Yeah.
1v1 anybody. And
Right.
I don't know what I do in this situation, so let's see
Right.
what choice
I
I
think you
make.
end up going for Soraka. I think
Okay.
we're just gonna think about like so our goal is just to stop the damage
Yep.
from her. Do you know what Trundle Pillar does as an interaction?
Well, it's a knock up, right?
Right. So okay, so it'll actually cancel the misfortune ult if you hit her with it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I know it cancels the Herald summon. I might do
Right.
that in
It'll
this
also
game, I think.
cancel dashes and things like that as well if you time it really, really well. I've
Okay.
seen some insane Trundle players do it a lot. But so how I would change we'll watch how this plays out and then we'll go back and talk about it. That gives you a new option in this fight. We'll watch how this plays out. I actually do think you do it correctly. I don't think Leona is the brightest crayon in the box, so to speak.
No, she plays this game horribly.
Yeah.
I
She's
mean,
gonna
even
hit if she
Kaisa could have walked up, to be honest.
yeah, if she hits the alt there, I mean you're fine. I think you played it. Yeah, I think you played it like you needed it to. I think there is a better option. Kaisa's not allowed to walk up because of the damage that's coming out. I think the way that we change this. Okay, I skipped too far. The way that we change the way this is approached is that like I don't know if you're gonna be fast enough right now to cast that E onto Misfortune, but I think as soon as you see that alt, you want to be like,
Get up close to the wall where the ward
get up
is.
this way, throw the E. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's one change you can make. I do think that also. Think, ooh, that was a good silence. That's actually correct. This is correct. Make sure you use your smite in this situation. Yeah, okay, you used it. Good. Yep.
Oh,
And then
I'm a whore to the point where sometimes I don't have it for objectives because
yeah,
and it's even that's what another thing that's been really hard on Graves because he's a red smite user. I love
oh
blue
yeah, we'll
smite
talk
to
about
have a
that.
little bit of extra damage and the slow mechanic, so it's tough for
Right.
me to take advantage.
I actually think I actually think you played that pretty well, considering. I just think that one small thing you can change, and then if we look again in this fight, we're still not kiting in between autos as much as we should be.
Okay.
So, and it's a bit harder on this champion with the resets you have to do, but
I'm really bad too with hitting his ult too. I almost
okay,
have to
yeah,
always lead with his ult because I forget about
right.
it mid combat.
It, and I don't know the math. I don't know what's correct to do because you do steal health over the course of a fight. You also steal stats. So I don't know when the best time for you to use that is. If you have a tank in the fight, definitely use it earlier on the tanky member. That's the thing you need to remember, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I think it scales with how low they are though, so I think it's helpful for like I don't know. I'd have to
I'll
look at
read
it
that.
again.
We'll read that description.
Okay.
Um,
And
yeah,
again,
here you go.
I mean, keep in mind, Trundle's definitely like my
That's a
number
good
two by
pillar.
a pretty far margin. Yeah, these guys
Yeah,
are
we're already
idiots.
number one, right? That's actually
Silver's
a good
great.
pillar. That's a really good pillar.
They love
Cause
this hug
he's
the
just trying to
wall.
run into the wall here
Yep.
or execute. That's really good. But that's like a hard ability. If you're trying to do anything fancy with it, like cancel dashes or stop ultimates or things like that, smart cast is definitely something I'd recommend for you.
Interesting. How would Smartcast work in this interaction? It would just put the pillar note next to the closest enemy champion.
Oh, it's target based. Smart cast, you just press it wherever you're gonna press it anyway, and it's just one press instead of the. Isn't it two presses without smart cast?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So it works more like a Warwick Q, where wherever your cursor is, it just automatically hits it.
Yeah, smart
Okay.
cast is like it's just doing your cast without the indicators. It's just like one press,
I'm
right?
thinking quick cast, which is more like
Oh,
for Cassiopeia E, where you just like are
you're
spamming that
doing
shit like
you're doing
Skarner.
quick cast. Yeah, that's probably what I mean. Okay. Okay. The other small thing you can do here to really make oh, I missed it. I can find it. Okay. The other small thing you can do here to really make a difference, is that Rift Herald does damage based on its health, right? Based on its max health. So a really small thing you can do here when they do call for the Rift. Oh, that's not right. Wise. Okay. The other thing we can do here when they call for the Rift Herald is that oh you need to use your Tiamat active in fights too, and that's hard but important. So the couple of options you have here are like yeah, I actually don't think you walk up there, but it does damage based on max health. I was gonna say you can walk up and hit the Rift Herald, but you definitely can't. So your decision here needs to be, hey, they have Rift Herald. Like this tower is already at a big chunk of health gone. I think I just need to give this up. And if you're not going to give this up, you need to just use everything to clear the wave so that they can't take another one easily, right?
Okay.
Because with this Rift Herald, they could get two towers if they went for it. And then when you're up here at hitting the Rift Herald, just use as much as you can. Auto Q auto Tiamat so that your tower takes less damage because it's based on the Rift Herald's current health.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, in
Yeah.
that situation, I'm saving the ability to like
Right.
look for actions. Obviously, Q, I don't need to worry about saving, but other
Right.
stuff
It
I
was
could
pretty
do.
clear there based on like their actions that they're walking away.
Yeah.
Not interested. The other thing you really want to do is just get pinks on backs.
Okay.
Yeah, get pinks on backs when you can because, like I said before, your time in the game is the first 15 to 20 minutes. That is when you have the most influence on a jungler. As a jungler, is your first 15, 20. Because you're not going to be able to, like, it depends on who you're playing, but, like, most of the characters you're going to play in the jungle are not going to be able to kill, like, a carry on their own, past a certain point in the game.
That
Right?
makes
There will be
sense.
a point in the game where
You're
you get
just ward
outscaled.
bitch.
Yeah, your ward bitch, your smite bitch, like, whatever. It's good that you're looking at that too. Um, what is the next objective up? Next objective up is that dragon. So with objectives, you do want to be around 30 seconds to a minute before so that you can take control of the objective, right? And that's just a change in mindset there, right? Because like you backing right here and getting back on the map, you're already late. They're already there. They already have control. Like the thing that you need to view, it's not about necessarily about the dragon. It's about like the control of the area too, right?
Was
So
Scuttle
like
up at that time?
it's not even about scuttle. It's about vision. It's about like posturing there. Because if you're able to get like if you're able to even just like walk in there and threaten it there, right?
Right.
I mean they have to think twice about doing it. But
And
because
and
we're
it
not there,
drags my team in too.
yeah, right. Especially in this elo, I mean you do kind of have to drag them around. You are kind of herding cats. So the earlier you can get there, generally the better. But control of the area always matters. You always have to think like a minute in advance when you're doing objectives as jungler. Because you
Okay.
have to think about, is my smite going to be up? Am I going to have the vision to do this? All that stuff. So, uh, I really I question the dead man's this game. Just because,
Yeah,
um,
I don't feel like my itemization on either character, Warwick or I mean they're almost identical.
yeah, I don't feel like it's ideal here. I know that as Trundle, I've seen players building. I'm in a more competitive background, and they go like Zeke's Convergence or Knight's Vow or something like that. But obviously, it's solo queue, and
Yeah, I gotta carry
that's not
more
always
than I.
ideal.
Right.
So, um, I just question the dead man's plate against their team. I don't think that.
Well, even about where this game is, right? Like I don't need the movement speed as much because we're
Yeah,
we're
no,
we're at tier 3 towers. So I'm really
yeah,
just running around my base back to back. So since I'm not roaming as much and I don't have control, the movement speed isn't as important. I definitely feel like I want to run tanky because we don't have any tanks. So I like the idea of having armor and health,
okay.
but maybe just not that item.
So yeah, the biggest thing I think if you're gonna keep jungling on any character, right, is you need to look at what's going on the map when you clear your camps. Um, that's really evident right here. If we're looking at the mini map right here, where she is right now totally gives away what's about to happen.
Yeah, Baron.
Yeah, I think you remember what happens here, but that totally gives it away. And unfortunately, we don't realize it. This is a hard like, this is a good cheese strategy. We do this. We do 20-minute barons all the time against teams, and it works because some teams just aren't ready, and it's not clear. She makes it really obvious right there when she shows on whatever she just showed on. And that should be an indication with the Garen bottom and with her showing where she is. That should be a clear indication that they're clearing vision there. So, like, whether they're doing it or not, you still need to be up there to contest in case they are. It's really important that you understand what objectives are. So they just Baron, and then essentially that's it. I mean,
It's a bad game anyway, but
yeah,
that's definitely and that's interesting too because I think if I'm looking at my mindset, as soon as I see Garen show, I'm thinking, oh, they can't be doing it.
yeah. So the reason why Garen, it's important that Garen shows there is because Garen has the teleport, right? So he's got the teleport.
Ah,
The macro play wise, Garen's just if he's got teleport up, he's just gonna walk down to the bot lane, and then he's just gonna, push the bot wave, so that you have to send somebody down there after him, right? That's the idea of a split push. That's the idea of why teleport gets run
okay.
at the base level, is so that you can make cross map plays, and they're gonna try and make the cross map play there, right? I think that's a. I mean, do you have any more questions about jungling that I didn't get to cover?
No, I mean, I'd really be. I love their conversation on Varys's build paths. I'd be very curious about build paths for Trundle and Warwick, so I'm down for more
Yeah,
of that information. And the rest of it makes a ton of sense.
I'm gonna do some research on. I'm gonna write that down right now. I'm gonna do some more research on build paths. I'm not an expert on jungle
But you know
paths. I
what?
will
I
say that.
like the idea though, and again, it's tough because this isn't competitive, but I still like the idea of building almost supporty because that's typically what I
Yeah.
find I'm doing anyway, right? With Warwick,
Mhm.
I'm almost always building tank. With
Right.
Trundle, I'm almost always building tank.
I
And if
think.
I can do
Yeah.
that in a better way that enables in a different way, I'm
Right.
down.
I think if I recall, the one that I see a lot is Knight's Vow, or I see Zeke's Convergence on Trundle.
Okay.
Um, in competitive, you'll never. I don't think you'll see a Tiamat. I don't think you will, but I don't quite understand that item path yet. I don't understand. I understand why that gets picked because you want to farm effectively, but in a competitive setting, I don't know. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Tiamat for me, just like all of a sudden I'm power clearing camps and it feels
right,
just really, 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 really good. But I mean, I, and that's the other part of the knowledge base that I don't really have is matchup
right,
based. So,
hmm
I don't know if I'm ahead of somebody anyway. So I'm just going
yeah,
to try to go as fast as possible.
okay. It's just always thinking about what you want to do. I mean,
And I'll tell you
going
the
as
other
fast as
thing
possible.
too that
Love
would
that.
probably be worthwhile if we keep showing jungle games. I'll tell you,
Right.
I'm much more comfortable on the other side of the jungle, blue side,
Huh.
right? Or red side? Which side was I on this last
You
game?
were on red. Why do you think you're more comfortable on the one side than the other?
Because I feel like in almost every example in low ELL jungle, the enemy jungler always starts where he has his bot and support
Hmm
to help him leash his objective. You almost never see
Right.
them start unless they're like a Shaco or something like that. And so
Right.
I can sneak up and either cheese the top laner if they're watching,
Uh huh.
or collect that red and counter jungle them. Whereas
At level one, you're saying?
at level one, yep. And
Okay.
then um, on the other side of the jungle, on this side, which is what we're looking at here with Varus, I don't
Right.
feel like I have that entry point, right? Because red
I
is
see.
definitely always got, even at silver, there's usually two people watching it, and on
Right.
blue side, the advantage is definitely on the red side
hmm
to have middle and top collapse.
No, that's a good point. Things are gonna change a bit once the jungle changes come through that are being proposed. I think for the next patch or the patch after that.
Yeah, the scuttle
But
crab will be interesting.
I had a nice conversation with our jungler about that. It's gonna be really interesting. I don't. I think at your level, I don't know if it's gonna change too much. In the competitive side of things, though, like the goal is probably gonna be you're gonna see mid laners and probably bot lane contesting. You're gonna see laners trying to push the lane really early and then contest the scuttle. I think it'll be really interesting for competitive play.
Wow, that could bring a lot of different variation into the bot lane too, in terms of like Dravens and stuff like that, and who's on what
Yeah.
side of the map.
I don't generally like adding RNG to the game. That's just I think it's stupid as RNG, but I hope that you'll know it early enough in the game. Okay, so you're going this lane. You're playing Varus into Vayne. Believe you have range advantage. I don't think it's by much, but I think you do. They're also double range though, so that makes your lane a bit harder. And then that's a Lowy, right? That's something. I don't think it has any.
Welcome to Silver.
Yeah, I'm in silver. I know. Uh, Lowy, I don't think that really has any value, but you have to try and make stuff like this work when it happens. So your Lowy shows me in this like ideally in the first wave here. The problem, the challenge when you play Relic Shield supports is getting that Vision West done, you know? So ideally, if your support's competent, give them the first couple melee minions because they're worth more gold than the ranged, so that they can just accelerate to that faster,
Okay,
right?
no, it totally makes sense. I think
Yeah,
my
if
biggest
you're
challenge is like with no comms and with fucking
right,
Alawi, I'm just like fuck this. I'm just
yeah,
hitting it.
this is just I'm just like I'd be like fuck this too. Don't worry.
Okay,
So like the same basics still apply in bot lane though, even though you're with some bad support. You want to push for level 2.
right.
You want to try and zone them off and create an advantage,
I've been
which
using that a lot more lately,
yeah,
and I don't even know if this is a great game to showcase that in. But I just like that first timing. It's the only timing that I understand
yeah,
yet, but
right.
I get when I'm going to hit my level two, which has been really
Yeah.
helpful.
It is important to understand all that. Yeah, I mean, if your support is actually participating in the lane here, you guys hit and you're able to zone. This Janna is really not too smart. Look at what she does. She actually, it's important to be cognizant of this as well
Does
when you're playing
she
with the
take her
support.
W first?
No. It's not even that. What she does, taking W first is correct. What she actually does is she zones herself off of experience multiple times.
Oh,
So if
interesting.
we look at this like regular speed. I want to look at this regular speed, but because she's not in lane yet, she's already late to lane. So she's missed 3 creeps right here because she got to lane late. She missed another creep because she's out of experience range in this area, and she's gonna zone herself off of maybe one or two more in the next couple of seconds by walking back into the. No, he's not. No, she's not. Okay, but it's important for you to consider like that you're always in experience range because you get uneven level ups and stuff like that if you're not.
Yep. No,
And
that
it's
makes
just
sense.
you're just not being efficient. Generally though, you should be in range unless you have a reason not to. I just thought it was interesting that she did something weird and didn't get that there.
You think that W's first is right on Jaina? I
It
always
depends on
take
the lane you're
shield.
in.
I mean, no, I am not a
So,
support main. I am.
right. So the debate is like if if you are going to be the aggressor as Janna, I would say W's better. W's going to cost you a bit less mana. And if you're aggressing as Janna, you're generally going to be like in a lane where you're against a melee support and they can't really do anything to you anyway. Level one,
Okay, so like
generally
take it into
speaking.
Leona or Alistar or.
Right, but if your AD carry has a range advantage, let's say you're playing like Caitlyn into Vayne, right? Is the classic example. I just skill E because I'm gonna count on, well, maybe not in silver. I wouldn't count on my Caitlyn to be able to abuse that, but like, if I'm playing with an AD carry and I trust them to abuse it, I'm gonna start E and I'm gonna let him do the work, right?
Oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah. So this Janna is not a bright play. You said it at some point. You were like, yeah, this Janna, all she does is sit back, and that's low yellow Janna players. I mean, that's what they do. You can, and then right here, when she just walks up on you, hit her. She's level one.
Yeah.
Like, she walks up to you and throws W at you, and you don't throw anything back at her. And it's just like, I think it's right. Yeah, it's right here. Just smack her around. She's like level two. Bane's all the way back there, right? Punish her for it. Now that you're learning how to CS without your abilities, right? You want to be using your abilities to trade. That's like the growth point from here. It was like step one was be able to CS without it. Now step two is use your abilities to trade.
Okay.
Right. So that's gonna be the big like overarching theme for today, as well as just talking about menu control.
By the way,
So
the other thing on Varus that I've been doing a lot different or more is skill tree wise is taking the shield as opposed to not
overheal.
alacrity. Yeah, overheal as opposed to what's the
Okay.
other one in that? Is it coup de grace?
Uh, Celerity.
No, Celerity's in sorcery
Celerity,
tree. I'm looking it up.
because that's in the overheal's in the 80 carry tree.
It's the one next
Oh,
to it.
is it Triumph?
Yeah, as opposed to
Okay.
Triumph. And I just the extra 20 gold and the other stuff on kill, I feel
Right.
like that shield has been so fucking helpful. I even take it on Warwick in the jungle now.
Okay.
Because I'm doing so much healing to myself, so I almost always run around with that little bit of extra heal versus the 20
Uh-huh.
gold to put me ahead and the slight AD ramping on the
Right.
kills.
So I think if you're in I think if you're in a situation, if you're in a lane where you have a lot of shields present, or if you're building lifesteal yourself, I think you're okay. I think that's fine. Um, I
But in
think
the
where the
Alawi lane,
debate the debate comes in, like, yeah, the debate comes in with something like this, like how are you gonna hit that point if you don't have lifesteal or if you don't.
well, because of it's the Doran's blade and the fleet footwork
Yeah,
gives you life
I
too.
know you do from that, and that makes sense. I guess that does make sense. Okay.
I don't know. Sneaky talked a little bit about it on one of his streams. I thought it was
I think
interesting.
that's an interesting point.
And I just felt like it fits the silver so well because I'm obviously making a ton of mental mistakes and it helps cover those up for me a little bit.
Okay. So the big fundamental of bot lane or any lane is you just abuse their cooldowns, right? So when we see Janna in a Janna lane, right? I know it feels like, oh, she's playing Janna, all she does is shield, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I can't do anything. But when she uses her shield like this, you just, and I know this is hard with the support that you're playing with. I get it. She's not really doing anything, but when she uses her shield and that's on cooldown, just walk up, right? Because like her main power is gone when her shield's down. That's like her big like draw because it gives attack damage, it gives shielding, right? It's like the ultimate like power tool. So when that's down, just walk up, threaten, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, overall your last hitting so much better. And now we want to think about what do we want to do with the wave, right? So a couple situations that I'll give you a brief overview of minion stuff, and I'll send you a really detailed guide in a little bit. I have one, I just have to send it to you. Um, but like the three situations that you're gonna find yourself in most often in the bot lane are gonna be the freeze, the slow push, and the fast push. And your freeze is going to happen is going to happen in a situation where it's roughly in this area of the lane, right? Or whatever the equivalent is on your side, probably like, right in there.
Yeah.
And you have and your opponent has, or whichever lane is pushing has three more ranged minions than the melees. So for the basics of minions, right? The ranged minions do the most damage out of all of them, and the melees don't. The melees do less. And so the ranged minions uh, are going to cause the lane to push faster if you have more range than melee, generally. When you're at a point where you're at, like, there's a lot that goes into this as well. Like, um, if you're any less than three range minions more, and you're trying to set up a freeze, it's not going to work because um, these minions that come from the red side are going to get there faster than the minions from the blue side, just because of where the lane is at. And the minions that get there first are going to be able to do more damage, which is going to cause the lane to push. Okay, so the rule of three is really important when setting up a freeze, and you want to set up a freeze when you're ahead. You can set up a freeze. Um, and let's say they blew two flashes, right? Let's say they blew two flashes. Let's say they're playing Vayne, and she's low range. She's easy to punish, and she blows flashes early on. And if you're able to set up a freeze, um, you set up the freeze, and you just walk up. You kind of play in between your minions and her, and when you set up a freeze, you just want to last hit, right? You want to hit it as close as you possibly can to when the minion's about to die, so that you're not inadvertently pushing the wave. Okay?
Yep.
That makes sense?
Totally.
Yeah. And then you can also freeze when you want to kind of this is more in solo lanes, but when you play solo lane, they're not going to be able to clear the wave on their own. So in a freeze situation, and so they may need to call their jungler over to clear the freeze. But in a duo lane, I mean, if you freeze the lane on your side, you can call your jungler to gank.
Okay.
Well. It's a great way to set up a gank. The other situation that you're probably going to find yourself in is a fast push, and a fast push is you're just going to push the wave as quick as you can to try and get it into tower, and you're going to do that.
Deny CS.
Yep, deny CS. You want to take a tower, that kind of deal. And you're just going to auto attack the wave, and you're going to use all your mana, and you're going to do it. Pretty easy. Not too hard to explain. The concept of a slow push is, you remember how I said when there's that 3 minion rule?
Uh-huh.
Where if you have 3 more minions than theirs, and, there are certain zones, but, like, there's roughly 3 minions is, like, this area, 2 minions is, like, in here, and then 1 minion's here. You can freeze the lane. There's a guide that'll link that shows a better chart than what I can show you right now. But if you set it up, generally, if you have more minions than them, you're going to push, barring, like, huge minion RNG, right? So if you can get in a situation where you're, like, up 2 minions, or you clear their range minions, that will cause your wave to push faster than theirs. And over the course of roughly a minute to a minute 30, your creep wave is going to build up into what's called a slow push. And then at the end of your, minute or 1:30 or a minute and a half, you're going to have a huge wave crashing into their tower, right? You're going to have, like, over that time, it's hard to illustrate. I may just find you a video. But over time, your minions are going to build up, and they're all going to crash at the same time. And what this gives you an opportunity to do is this gives you an opportunity to roam, right? Because there's this huge minion wave at the tower. They can't follow you on a roam. Or this allows you to set up a dive or threaten them, right? If your jungler comes down and you threaten them off the tower, they have to choose between this big minion wave and dying, right?
No, it makes total sense. I mean, the minions themselves on, like, a dive are going to do almost as much damage as a turret shot, and
yeah,
you have the opportunity to get in and out of combat under tower.
Typically in a dive, you're not going to pull minion aggro. They're not going to pull minion aggro unless they do something really wrong. And if they do that, yeah, that's, like, that is important. But the more important thing to understand is when to use the wave. So I'll send you a guide I found shortly after this that explains this in a bit more detail. But generally, when you're ahead, you can freeze. When you are When you get a back timing, right? You fast push and you slow push when you want to force a dive. That's pretty much it. Or you want to roam.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because you want to force somebody to come to this lane and deal with that minion wave, and you can do something else. Where am I at? 350. Okay. So I actually think what you do here is really smart. I think you notice you're about to get ganked, and what I think is what I appreciate and what's really smart about this is that you see the Skarner, probably right about now, right? Yeah, you see the Skarner, then you just use your abilities to get the cannon, and then you just you didn't quite get it.
Oof.
But I appreciate the thought there of you trying to get the most like high value minion there and then back up.
Yep.
So
How did I miss that? Jesus, it had 3 stacks of blight on it,
I don't
and
know. You're actually really close. Oh, you got
this is the other thing too that I've been playing around with. So I think I finally figured out what my build path now with new empowered Q is on Varus, and I've gone back to the old build of maxing E, Bork, Rage Blade. Now the on hit isn't bad, but the on hit, the max there is the W. And I do like the ability in the with the AP Varus, I do like the ability to kind of switch midstream, depending on how a game is going. If we notice they're building armor or something, I can switch over to that. But from a build perspective, I think the best is maxing E first and going from either Rageblade first or Bork first, depending on what my gold backs are.
So right here, just step up, right? Like you see that, she's low, she's backing, she has no mana. This is like really instantaneous, but if you just step up right here, she's dead.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
And I know that's a hard timing to hit because it's like instantly like go. But if you walk up there and throw an E, you're either gonna stop her, you're gonna stop her back, but you're either gonna force a flash or you're gonna get a kill right there.
Okay.
Yep. And then the other thing you want to think about is that you want to think about when you want to back, right? So like, you want to back generally like when your big item timings are. Like for you,
it's usually
like
axe plus boots would be a perfect one.
Yeah.
Is it 1250 for cutlass? I forget what it is on the first thing on Bork.
If we're talking like BF80 carries, I mean it's like 1300. So like I think right here, you have other options here too. You can just back on this wave because you've done exactly what we talked about with the fast push. You fast push the wave, and then you force them to kind of stay in CS this. So you have options here because you're at 1500. You can probably take it back. The other option you have is that you can like stay and like kind of psychologically threaten them, if that makes sense. So like, look right here. I think she's about to use her Q. So like, what you can do here, and she used her shield. So you just walk up here, and you just like mess with them, right? You like threaten them. You walk up to like this area, and you just say, Vayne, hit me, or like just throw an ability at her, or auto attack her from outside tower range or whatever, right? Just mess with her a little bit, right? That's an option. I'm not saying you have to do this, but another option is you can do that, and that'll probably make her miss a few CS, or that'll make her just do something stupid, right? Just be cognizant as well when playing against Vayne of where you're positioned relative to walls.
Yeah.
With the condemn.
Right.
That's really important. She could have just gotten condemned, and she didn't, because Vayne's a little bit slow. Yeah, regardless, I think you're good. So, I think where there's a mistake, I think you make a decision to... Oh yeah, okay, so we're gonna talk about this freeze concept. Because right here, right, this is like... Going by the 3 minion rule again, your minion wave is coming. You already have 3 minions here. So if you recall right now, and these are better players, right, they have a freeze on you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, okay. So, I don't want you to back here in this situation. Even though the gold's really good, I don't want you to back. Because they're just going to back anyway. You can just stay and push one more wave, right? You fast push this wave with your abilities and your autos, and then you just go back. You do not want to give them a freeze. If you
Yeah.
give them a freeze, if you give a high elo player a freeze, and let's say he's playing Caitlyn against you, Caitlyn like Karma or Caitlyn like Sona or whatever, you're absolutely screwed. You will not get a single CS, right?
Yep.
So you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're not going to get CS. It's really important that you don't back here against a better player.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so you're gonna want to probably push one more wave, and then when you do back, you need to use all your mana so it shoves. And if you're playing with a duo, do it. Get them to push two.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure. I have a hard time getting my
Yeah.
supports to back me up on that, but it makes total sense.
Yeah. It just happens faster. Like I said, if they're better, they freeze on you, and you lose a ton of CS and experience, and then you're behind. I actually really like this buy here.
Really? I feel like I should have gotten boots as instead
I
of one of
think
those blades.
you have other options. You have other options here. You can do a pink ward. You should have gone a pink ward and a potion because you have extra gold. But the other thing you can do is you can go Amp Tome and Dagger. I don't think the boots is really necessary in this lane. Like you go boots in a lane against like Blitzcrank, or like you're at a huge advantage like range wise and you can just keep punishing him.
Okay.
Like I don't think boots in this lane does anything for you.
My only thought is getting me lit back to lane faster.
Yeah. I mean, and that doesn't matter. If you control the wave correctly, right? You don't need that.
Okay. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Because if you push the wave in faster and they don't have this freeze, you're fine. The wave will, because when you push the wave in, your wave's gonna die to the tower, and then by the time you get back here, the waves will be right here in the middle, and you don't need to worry about it. Because if they choose to push the wave, you're gonna get like everything. But even if it chooses to just sit there, then that's where you want it to be, and the minions will just kill themselves on their own, and you won't lose as much. Right?
Yep, it makes total sense.
Okay, great. On. Notes here. So I think you know what Bane's doing here, right? What have you? I haven't seen you. I don't think I've seen you check items in a while.
No,
But
I definitely not.
I think you check it right here, and you know Vayne still isn't backed, right?
Oh, that I
And
have the advantage in terms of power?
that too, but also like when she walks off the map here, right? She still hasn't backed. Where do you think she's going? Do you think she's going back here, or do you think she's staying?
Oh, sitting under turret waiting for me to push the wave?
I think she's just backing.
Oh,
Honestly.
okay.
And you do want to push the wave here. That is the correct decision. So you just want to use your mana, right? And
Oh, do you want me to walk past the wave and stop her back, or are you just saying shove the wave?
Oh, that's actually that's another good point. You can do that. I do think I do want you to shove the wave though. Let me think on the math on this.
I think what I'm frustrated with here is I'm frustrated that my idiot support didn't go back when I went back and had her back stopped. And so I'm like, well, I can't really challenge this like I'd like to and abuse them because I know I'm now 1v2 as opposed to being 2v1.
And that's hard. I mean, it's hard when your support doesn't know how to play support.
But I mean, like, we don't have to focus on the Alawi.
We're
Fuck
not gonna
that.
focus
Yeah,
on that.
I mean, like, we don't have to prepare for the Alawi
you're
situation.
Coaching, not the Alawi.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do think that's pretty good. If we notice what's going, Vayne still has not backed. Like,
no, it's crazy.
You're gigantic. So like, what you want to be doing right now is you want to be looking at your mini map, and you kind of want to be able to like get an idea of when Alawi's going to be back, right? And you just want to throw your ult at Vayne because you're at such a huge advantage right now in your items.
Okay.
You want to be looking like the big opportunities are. If she ever walks forward, ult her. Especially if she tumbles forward, ult her. Because like she can't tumble out, she can't dodge. Like right there.
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
I think you are gonna hit the go button right there, which was super good. Then you're gonna finish her off. Yeah, good job. That was a really, really good play. And then you just want to shove this wave with everything you have, and then back. Yep. Then you just want to back here, right? I believe this will let you finish your stinger, get Amp Tome or boots and a pink ward. So like, if you back here, that's fine. But if you stay, you want to just keep shoving, right? You want the wave to reset when you get back. That's your big goal. You want to deny as much as you can, and then you want it to reset. So I would even consider maybe resetting on the first wave that you had after you killed Vayne, but definitely after you push the second one, you need to reset, right?
Okay.
You want to spend that money and you want to get that.
Yeah,
advantage.
because now I'm stuck in the lane.
Now you're stuck here, right?
And I'm at half health, and even though I should have like a huge item advantage on her, I don't.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have that advantage until you spend the gold. So you just want to, especially on this cannon wave, shoving back. You spend like 2 minutes, kind of just sitting around. And because you take so long to go back, you're gonna get punished. I think right here by Skarner. Skarner's gonna show up and gank you. So I think your best way to get out in this situation is to just throw your R.
Yeah.
And flash out, right? I mean, it's worth it here because it saves both of you, right? Because if he gets to you, you're dead. So you just R and then you flash out and then you're okay. And
By the way,
kind of
I hate that buy too. I wouldn't do that this time.
Just buy.
Yeah, because with the AP version, I'm fine with Nashor's Tooth as a first before Rage Blade.
Yeah.
But I would rather have it's almost like the reverse of what I'm doing here. It's almost like you get Amp Tome, then you go Rage Blade, then you finish Nashor's Tooth. Because I've got basically a bunch of attack speed without either getting my blight stacks or with any damage. I'm split AD AP ratios here, which is stupid.
This play is actually pretty good. I don't know why. You didn't know where Skarner was at the time, so I think that plays okay.
Yeah. No, but again, for all the reasons why we talked about, I have huge item advantage over everybody, and
the big issue there was it was just unlucky because he cleared Mountain Drake as soon as you flashed forward, so it was like you didn't have the information to really know what's going on there. You really could have gotten punished for that, but it didn't.
My Alawi saved me. Skarner started to go into the lane, and he saw Alawi there.
Actually did something right for once.
Yeah. She zoned him out.
Yeah, like I said, the CSing got better. Once we understand how...
Jeez, does she condemn anybody? She could have fucked that Alawi so hard there.
Yeah. This is really awkward. Wow. That's really bizarre.
Look at me dodging those
I'm not going to
Jaina
comment
Qs.
on that. That was just a weird play.
It was just a fiesta.
How that played out. I do like the play you go for. I think you go for a play right here. That's really good. I think you do need to. Okay. I actually think this play's really good. But I think your positioning here is not as good. And so we're gonna go to slower speed so we can actually see it. Oh, I'm too far back now. Alright, so I like this play because I think it's a smart play, but you have to keep in mind when you guys go and dive a tower, right? You want the person who's going to be taking the tower aggro should be the person who does the least damage, right?
Yep.
So you want to position yourself probably more up here, and away from the wall for sure, because you don't want to get condemned, right? And you want to stay out of tower range. Alternatively, you let Alawi go into tower range and then you just go hard. Is the other option. I think you are going to get condemned here.
Yeah, I walk up too far, chasing.
Right, you walk up too far, you get condemned on the edge of the wall, and then, yeah, you do live, but you definitely could have pulled that off if you didn't get condemned there.
Well, right. And if I didn't waste my Q trying to stop the Skarner's back, let the Skarner go back, and then it's not on cooldown, and I can get that in there in the combo.
It's usually
sooner.
not. I mean, if you know you're gonna go for that dive ahead of time, yeah, but you don't, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't know 10 seconds earlier that the Janna's just gonna walk up and you're gonna throw ult at her and dive her, you know?
Yeah.
If you know that, then yeah. But I think it is correct to stop the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good info.
Mhm. Cool. 14. Okay.
My build's so fucking
The
atrocious
biggest thing I
here.
saw in this game is that you need to make some good decisions about how you move around the map later in the game. I actually think Sorks is standard if you're going this AP build.
Yep.
Yep, and then it's probably about time to switch to Blue Trinket. Probably about that time. I think your tower's... No, your tower's not down yet. Never mind.
Well, I
I
need
think
to
you're...
be level 9 too, but...
Yeah, you do. You not? Oh, you're level 8. Okay. I didn't see that. But Blue Trinket's important as you go on later in the game because you never
Look at
want
this
to be
asshole
restricted.
tax the lane and then fucking doesn't shove the wave. Oh, I'm triggered all over again watching this shit.
Oh yeah, that's me. I love it. I love junglers. But yeah, it's important that you understand minion control too as a jungler.
So I don't do that.
Yeah. Um, you can just use abilities to shove this wave.
Yeah, and
Like
get
you
more
don't.
hit on the tower.
Yeah, right. You want to optimize your damage in the tower here. So just shove the wave, and your minions will hit the tower too, if you
Right.
clear the wave. So, make sure you're doing that. We're gonna watch a little bit more of this. Overall, though, the lane was a lot better. You just need to understand when you need to push waves and when you don't, right? And understand wave control. The biggest issue with the wave control, we're giving them that freeze and then not shoving and recalling, right?
Yep.
So you want to know what your critical timings are, especially on your first back. Like, what's your best first back, and what's gives you the big advantage? Whether it's your BF sword or your
Well, and pressing that advantage too. I didn't do that very well here.
right.
Once I got ult, I was fine.
Yeah. Once you get alt, you're pretty good about just using it.
And that's why
Pretty
right
good
there,
about
by the way, fucking maxing E is much better than maxing Q.
Yeah.
That
You can just when he walks up like this, just throw Q at him. Like, you might just want to throw Q. You might just want to do some damage to scare him off. I mean, that might be hard because it slows you down, but
No, I think that's right. I think you're 100% correct because what's happening now and I've totally noticed this where okay, I'm CSing better without my abilities, but then I'm not using my abilities. So I'm just sitting there with full mana pool.
The point of you being able to, last hit is to have the abilities used for trading or for throwing damage, right? That's the goal. So that's
Would you say here in this particular matchup, is it better to throw the damage on the Janna or the Vayne? Now, obviously, I typically wouldn't have the opportunity to hit the Janna, but because this player's bad, do you think it's better on the Janna or on the Vayne?
It depends on the situation. Like, if you're in a straight 2v2, you want to get rid of the Vayne as fast as possible.
Okay.
And it's early on, because she's only going to get, like, one shield up, and at that point in the game, it's not going to matter. See the, like, point of, like, Janna's shield with, like, having a death cap or whatever, like you'd see late game. But later on in the game, I don't know, that's a question. It really just depends. Generally, you just want to burst one of them. If that's your goal, is just to, like, take one of them out. You can ult earlier. Your goal here, based on if you're looking at the minimap here, I don't know if you are, but based on your minimap that your jungler's on your side of the map, and you can't count on him to come. But, like, your best chance of survival here, kind of just to stall for time, right? You just want to ult, you want to get Skarner and friends, like, off of you guys, kind of, like, bait the fight a little bit until, your jungler comes down. You just need to ult earlier there, because if you ult earlier there, you have Alawi alive.
Yeah, Alawi's alive. That makes sense. What happens if I hate the person for picking Alawi support and I just want them to die?
I do too. I definitely would too. But, even with people even with people who pick stuff like this, you still want to win, right? Your goal's to win. Over the course of, however many games, like, if you keep playing better, you're going to win more games than this person. You're not going to see this person again, right?
That's the goal.
That's how you have to kind of approach this. I think that's okay. You just ult earlier and then you get that. I do think you make a lot of good plays. Just gonna go to 20 minutes. I'm gonna skip a few minutes here because there's not really much that happens. It's just using ult to make a play. That's a really good ult. I really like that ult. And then when you take the turret like this, you want to make sure you get the solo gold, right? So just backping her. Maybe she'll back off.
Yeah, that never happens, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. right? I don't think they understand that, but just try and ping them back.
The,
Maybe they'll do it.
the other thing that we missed there, just on that Janna, is an ability thing that I'm better at now because it's new. I don't empower my W onto Q. I don't know if it would have killed the Janna in this situation, but you'll when I hit
Oh, your W's off.
right exactly.
Oh, I forgot you could toggle that. I just have it on all the time. There's no reason like not to have it off, is there?
Oh,
Or
it
not to have
doesn't
it
cool
on, is
down?
there?
Doesn't it cool down? Doesn't like if you don't use it?
I think it's just on every auto attack. I think you should always have that on.
Holy shit, I've never thought about that. So you could just leave it on and then when you're ready to queue, you're ready to queue.
Yeah, you should just have that on all the time. Wait, was there a
Ah.
change made to the W?
Yeah, the W is activatable now.
Oh,
So
holy shit, that is active. Whoa.
yeah, so you W, so it empowers your
Okay.
Q, and so what happens is your Q does an additional up to I think 9%
Oh,
damage
holy shit, that's
based
new.
on
That's a,
their loss of life. No, like
I
on a
thought we were.
Cho'Gath, you can fucking wreck somebody.
Oh my gosh, I thought we were still on. I didn't realize that changed the W. I thought it was just a change to the Q. Okay, that changes that. Never mind.
Yeah, you have to empower the W to
Okay.
empower the Q. You have to click the W to empower the Q.
Yeah, I haven't played in a few patches because of finals. I'm sorry. I
No,
missed that.
that's totally cool.
Yay.
I'm trying to really work on that because it's just
Oh.
like Bork and it's just like
That isn't. Yeah, that is something important. I do need to figure out how that works though, so I can talk to you more about it next time.
okay.
Okay. 45. I mean, I don't think this dragon. I think this dragon's really risky. And you don't really. The things you want to do to mitigate risk are the same I talked about earlier. This is risky because your jungler's up here, right?
Mhm.
So if the other guy if what's his name, Skarner shows up, it's like an 80-20 or 90-10 in his favor already. But also like we're in the middle of the pit, so easy for him to get to. He doesn't have to commit too much. So we pull that out, and then we bursted at the last second, right? We had our abilities on cooldown before it ended, so. And I think that's because you were trying to burst it down. I think that's okay, but
No,
generally when we
no.
go for
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Without smite, there's no point in me trying to rush it if I don't have
Yeah.
an ability like the empowered Q is great there. It does like probably 300 damage. That's like a mini smite.
Yeah, I just don't think you even make that decision in the first place, but if you do, there are things you can do to mitigate.
Yeah.
Okay. Two. I'm gonna. Okay. So we're just farming. I think this is good. It's good that you're conscious of where the farm is and what. Nothing really happens here. I'm gonna skip ahead a minute. What happens next minute? Kind of key. So right here, right, the decision you want to make is you just want to go mid, right here, because like, just based on like spatially where the two things are. First of all, right, how I view like taking objectives is that you kind of want to take what's like farthest away from you first, right? When you have a big window like this, like they have two people dead, so like you want to think about what is the hardest thing for me to get right now, right? Relative between these two. Let's say we're choosing between Raptors and the mid tower, right?
Mhm.
And the mid tower is going to be harder for you to get when they're alive, and it's closer to them. When they respawn, they can get to the mid tower a lot faster slightly faster than they can get to the Raptors. So, I think the better decision here. That's just the way to view these decisions is take what's farther away, but go just do the mid tower push here. They need your attack speed and AD to really contribute to that, right?
No, it makes sense. I mean, even if I'm only doing 10% damage to the tower, I'm gonna get both anyway.
Yeah, and then
Don't miss that ult on Janna.
we just don't walk forward there. I don't think.
Okay.
I mean, we just look at where our team is on the map.
I don't know why the
Okay,
fuck I get
wait,
so
they
greedy
haven't
on this.
respawned that. Actually, I think you can maybe walk forward there. I just don't know what Camille's teleport's at. My only question. And we didn't know. I don't think we knew where Vayne was. So,
No, we had no idea where Vayne was.
yeah, I don't think you have the information to really make that decision.
Well, I think the difference there is if Swain and Alawi are pushed up to the tower doing damage and they have a wave there, I think it's fine. But where they where they got pushed back, they would have had to either push the wave or walk past the wave to come do damage to Jaina anyway. So regardless, it was probably bad.
you really want to think about what you're doing with your build path here. I know you go wit's end, but like, what's the justification behind that here?
There isn't. This build path's been all messed up. It's not even the
Yeah.
correct AP build path. It should be saving up for um, rods. Um,
I would make an argument here that you would just go QSS, right? You just the wit's end doesn't do anything for you here because it deals magic resist, and with your team, I mean, are they really gonna have that much magic resistance, and is it really gonna matter?
the only thing is it's an extra thing to build the AP ratios on, but I feel like it's
Right.
a fifth item at best.
I feel like that's a more later item. I feel like the death cap's more core for you.
Yeah,
I think
that's why I agree because to build it's like building the ratio item before you have the ratios. Why would you do
right.
that?
I also feel like situationally in this game, the QSS is going to be much better for you. Um, if you remember to use it. If you don't remember to use it, it doesn't matter. The Quicksilver Sash will allow you to get out of Skarner ult. It'll allow you to, stop the Jax stun. It'll allow you to get rid of Teemo blind. The options are, Vayne Condemn, whatever you get hit by.
No, that makes total sense. I'm usually pretty good with QSS, although I don't buy it a lot. Better certainly than Borg.
Okay, I actually think this ult's really good. Um, because you do want to try and make a pick here with your team. They've used a lot of cooldowns, but I also, like we talk about, right? Make sure you kite back.
Yep.
Make sure you use your heal. Because like you just stand there, right? Oh, what did I just press? Just kite back. Make sure you're dealing your damage. Use your heal, and you can maybe like clean that up and live and go push, right? And take a few camps. There's a like, you're getting really. I think you're making like the right decisions. You're just not quite executing on it there, right?
Yep.
So
I'm
go for the
tunneling.
ult, yeah, you're tunneling. Go for the ult at max range, kite backwards, and you get a few more kills there, and that's a totally different. If you live, you probably like go take that mid turret there, and then you take a few.
Well, and you
Very
know what the
different.
other piece too is? The reason why I'm walked up that far is because I think I'm trying to I'm looking for a ward, and if I had
Right.
switched out to blue trinket,
Oh, yeah,
then I would be able to do that from further away too.
yeah. It is important that you switch to blue trinket after like 20 minutes because you don't want to check any bushes, right? Like the whole goal is you just want to know what's going on before you go into. Because if you check a bush and you die, like that's it, you're done.
Yep.
It's really important that you are on the map, like we talked about last time, that you're on the map as much as you can.
And on this team comp, I'm like 100% of the damage
Okay.
in between Swain ults.
So you made a comment here about taking Skarner ult and then being able to see it. And the balance that you have to find there is like, if you're gonna sneak an objective, right? Let's say you want to just go rush that Baron right now, right? Actually, don't go take the Skarner ult, right?
Yep.
Don't take the Skarner thingy. You want to sneak it, but if you just want to take control of the area, then do it. And it's the same philosophy behind wards, right? If you have a pink ward in Baron Pit and they have like green wards up that you can see, just don't clear the green wards, right? If you don't hit the wards, they won't see you.
Yeah,
So,
because
like,
it blocks vision.
right. Okay, right here. Again, like the biggest problem we had this game was spacing as the game went on. And positioning ourselves in the right spot. So right here,
Get the fuck away from Jax.
let's use our full range. Like if we're at our max range with the for him to walk into us, he can't jump on you because you're at max range.
Yeah, yeah.
You just die. Right? Let's use our full range. Like that's the big advantage you have. It's so big of an advantage that you have range. Like let's say you're playing Varus as a melee champion, it just doesn't work, right?
Yep.
Your ability, you're not gonna get all those stacks. You're not gonna, get what you need. So like, use your range. That's your big advantage. Make sure you play to that. You did tell your team you're waiting here. I think that's fine to wait for the wit's end here. Again, like we talked about, QSS probably a better pickup for you. You're using it. Okay. And I think that you guys should lose Baron right here because he dies. That's what's gonna happen. So in this situation, I actually think the Cloudrick's okay. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, again,
Sometimes
it's
I mean sometimes you just have to like they're gonna make bad decisions and you have to do different things because of it.
And I felt like
And
that was the best one to do
oh,
there.
Swain's already dead. That is, I think, your best decision that's available. Is you push the mid lane really fast with your abilities, and then you just go over to Cloud Drake. I think that is, you do need to push the mid lane out all the way.
Okay.
But because of the situation, because Swain's already dead, because your jungler's dead, like, because they're all obviously just dying, let's do that. That's absolutely fine. Don't let them flame you for stuff like that. That's actually, I think, correct right there, because they're just not. Yeah, there's some decisions like that that like aren't optimal, but like in the situation, it is. You know, because I never say go to Cloud Drake over Baron, but like if they go for the Baron, there's nothing you can do about it, so you may as well trade.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
interesting. Like in this situation, they don't do Baron, but they should
yeah.
have.
All right. Same issue here. I don't think your camera position is quite right. You want to know where you are. It's the same issue we keep running into with spacing. We're not using our range, and so like you should have died there,
Yep.
but obviously you didn't. You used flash, and that makes you vulnerable later. Just let your friend check the bush, right? Like you as an AD carry should never put yourselves in harm way when you don't need to, right? You're like the fucking rich kid who's like got a chauffeur or maid or whatever that does like all the everything for him, right? They're like your maids. Let them do all the dirty work. You just focus on making your money, doing your damage, right?
Yep.
Let them do your dirty work. Take blue trinket. You know, let the blue trinket check the bush. You don't need to do it because you just walking in range and dying is you're worth more money than them. That's it. Okay. A weird decision up here, and the reason that it's weird is because I don't know what information we have. Okay, teleport 28. I think it's up here. This decision's really. This is hard for me to make that decision. What you're gonna do here?
Empowered Q would have killed that Teemo if I'd have put it on him.
Yeah, I mean,
Back
it's a
there,
risk.
way back there. And I mean, the
Yeah,
Skarner could have grabbed me. I'm just pointing that out
yeah.
as a thought process.
Your decision here is hard because you know Camille has teleport. So like, you know Camille has teleport. I think she said 28 seconds, roughly 30 seconds ago. So she should have teleport up, and you know that somebody just used teleport on top. So you can maybe turn this into a play. Um, but again, I think it's a really hard decision to make because I don't know what else. I don't know what variables you have to work with. So okay, right here, because you have to be when you're getting dove or when you dive, you have to be cognizant of who has tower aggro. So in this case,
Vayne does.
it's Vayne that has the aggro, right? So at some point, you're gonna want to switch your probably right here. You want to switch your target.
Yeah,
So she
100%.
just got rooted. She has aggro. She's gonna do the most damage. So like, you want to switch your aggro to. I actually think you do that. Yeah, that's really good. That's really really good. So you demonstrate that really well, and then you just clean that up. Make sure you're kiting forward in between auto attacks because you might have been able to catch up with the Janna there. But that's just goes to show that picking your target really matters, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I'd have hit my E on the Vayne, it would have been better.
Yeah, it's an example of like the result of that play is good, right? But the execution wasn't quite there. It could have gone a lot worse
Yep.
if the Skarner had managed the tower aggro correctly. If he'd taken aggro and if Vayne had just hit you, you would have just died. There's nothing you could have done about it. So, alright, keep walking here. The most important, I think the most important decisions for you come in the last like 20 minutes of the game. At first, like if you'd done a little bit better in the first, 15 or 20 minutes, you would have been in a better position. But I think the big decisions that really make the game are in these next couple minutes here. So I do think this decision's good. You do need to be able to see the health bar on Baron. That's so important
Yeah.
because it'll like we said earlier when you were playing jungle, you should help them burst the objective as well with your abilities. Once it gets low, and you need to figure out what the play is, right? Because you know their team's coming, right? So the health bar on Baron will allow you to say, do I keep going on Baron? Do I turn on them? Because like I don't know here, right? We don't know here where the bar's at, and It's not showing up in the top left corner. We're not clicking on it, so we don't know what the hell's at, which means like, you know, you're just kind of going in blind, right?
Yep.
Because if it's at if it's at 8,000 health here, you might want to make the decision to turn around on their team. But if
Okay.
it's at 2,000 health, you might want to finish the Baron, right? So the decision you're gonna make on this objective is gonna change based on, and you want to make sure you're getting the full information. Um, this fight's really really important. You're as soon as you see their team coming, like you just wanna move into a safe zone, right? Because how you're gonna die in a fight is you're just gonna get pulled by Skarner and die, right?
Oh,
So
you think move into the pit here?
you 100% want to move into the pit here
Okay.
because you have Swain right here, you have Zin right here, you have Alawi. They're all gonna tank, right? They're all gonna take some damage for you. And you have your. You just want to position yourself. Excuse me, as far away from them as you can. So you want to get yourself into the pit. I can't see the health again. I think you still want to be hitting Baron. You want to be in the pit.
Yeah, but I can
And
kite
then-
forward.
Right. I think you want to be in the pit. You want to be hitting the Baron, and then when they come, I think you want to turn. Because
Okay.
there are, like, this gives you more space in terms of like, you can ult them, and they can't really get to you very well, and you have people that can keep them out. But this is, I think, hands down your best play, because you're already stacked up on your Guinsus, right? So like, all you want to do, all you're gonna want to do when this fight breaks out is you just want to hit your closest target, right? You're gonna shred whoever comes at you. And so, you standing in this position versus you standing in this position, you're much less like. Remember what we talked about last week with the circles?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna have less circles around you if you're in here versus when you're in here, right? Just knowing how this fight's gonna play out ahead of time. Again, I haven't seen this in a while. I don't know how it's gonna play out, but just thinking about like, you know, who is gonna really be able to run through your team? Probably just Skarner. Anybody else that has to run through your team is gonna. We're gonna go normal. It's pretty important. So again, I think if you're already in the pit, right, you're in a much better position, and you're not gonna get aggressed on as easily. And then right here, just hit your closest target, right?
Yeah, Jax.
Yeah, you don't want to just kind of walk into him, right? I think what ends up happening here is you just get stunned and then.
Yeah, I get tunneled on. I get tunneled on
Yeah.
Skarner, and so I ignore the Jax and I walk forward to try to auto Skarner, and I get fucked by Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, you want to put yourself in the position of the least threat, right? So just be in the pit, get max range from him, ult him, keep him off you, hit him, because you already have your stacks on your Guinsus. You're already gonna shred whoever's coming at you, right? Then we just get stunned and then that's it, right? The difference the difference in terms of like damage you could have made in this fight would have been insane.
Yeah.
Right? We do end up winning the fight, but like if you're alive after this fight, for example, right? You can walk up to top wave and clear that, or you can walk to mid lane and clear that.
Yeah,
or
we
you
get
can
an
just recall and
inhib.
spend your money.
Yeah,
right?
we could
You
get.
probably do get an inhibitor off this play if you're alive, but because you're not, I mean, it just gets weird, right? So make sure you're thinking about the position of no threat and using your range all the time. And again, even in this fight, a QSS would have really helped you because you can just cleanse that, walk backwards, and then just keep hitting him, right?
Yeah, that wit's end is just a wart on this game right now.
Yeah, and that's okay. It happens.
Well, and the Zerkers.
Yeah.
The Zerkers, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you're already well over the attack speed cap when you get your Guinsu stacks. You don't need any more. Nashers and Guinsus gets you there, I believe. I don't think it matters as much anymore because you're probably not going to be going that build, but...
Yeah, I'm actually still okay with the AP build. It's just, it
Yeah.
looks completely different than what you're seeing here. Wit's
Okay,
End
yeah.
isn't even in it. Wit's End
Right.
is so... It's so 5th, 6th item, but that by that time, honestly, you're probably choosing something else anyway.
Right, yeah. This is a good alt. You can still have... I think as a whole, better spacing. Less tunneling, better spacing, right?
Yep, I go after the Jaina. That sucks me
You have to
into...
consider what's going on the full fight.
Yep, and then
You
I
can
get
never get
stunned
stunned.
by Jax.
You should never get stunned.
Yep.
And you guys are still gonna win the fight, but like, you should never get stunned there. You should never be in that situation. I actually think after you make that decision here, I think top's the most correct way to go. It's important that we look on the map with like where the creeps are when we do a push. I think right here, actually, top's the better way to go because you have the huge wave up there. You have another wave coming. I actually think top is where you guys should go here. Because right, like immediately, because you guys can bust open the outer, you can probably bust open the inhibitor. Oh, your Baron just fell off. Ooh, unlucky.
Dude, this whole fucking game is unlucky.
Yeah.
I'm
Yikes.
like reliving this pain. Oh, if we lose this game,
Yeah.
how do we lose this fucking game?
I mean, there's one decision that if you guys make differently, you win this game, and it comes up in a couple minutes here. I mean, okay, yep, okay, Cloudrick's fine.
Yeah, we don't have a Baron anymore, so
Yeah, no,
so it's
fine. And then you can just ult him. If you ult him right there, if you pull the trigger on, like you.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm so afraid that I'm not going to be able to burn this Garner down.
I mean, it's.
He's
because you're
tanky,
playing
but he's
Quincy,
not that
right?
bad.
Like,
yeah.
You shred everyone.
QSS would be helpful there.
QSS would be helpful there. That's just playing against Garner in general. That's something that you learn over time. Is that item becomes more valuable against that champion. Against Warwick, it's good too.
What's the last AP item here? Lichbane?
Oh no.
What the fuck is it? Because it's not Luden's. Void Staff?
I think it is Void Staff. I think it depends on what their team looks like. If you already have Sorks and you already have Death Cap, I mean, you probably go Void Staff or Zanya's, depending on what you want, right? Like,
okay.
I think in this game it becomes Void Staff and then QSS. In a Merc Scimitar, right? I think that's what it ends up being. Because of just the way their team looks and the way their crowd control looks and how it affects you, right? Because if you die, like, that's a lot of the fight right there. So, that's really important. It's important to check their items. QSS would have been good. Again. And that's just a mistake, but you play it off well. You don't want to check into areas you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, blue trinket would be helpful.
Yeah. Get that around 20 minutes if you can. Or whenever lane ends, if you can.
Oh, this is the mistake. Fuck, I remember this.
No, this actually isn't it. This actually isn't what ends you the game. It's a macro call that ends you guys the game. I don't think you want to...
But me dead here fucks us, I'm pretty sure.
You don't want to make this call. You definitely don't want to make this call because, like, you should know that Vayne's going to outduel you. Especially when you don't have Quincy stacks, right?
Yep. Well, and everything was on cooldown except for E.
If you have stacks there, that's a very different duel. But if you have stacks there, maybe you can make that decision. But otherwise, you just walk with your team, right? Like, Vayne won't matter if you're with your team pushing that, right? Because it's just going to go down. You already have, like, at least 3 or 4 creeps going to the inhib. Leave it. They might even get it, like... Oh, they got it anyway. Yeah. So, you being down there is so much more valuable than you being up there. Like, just think about who your opponent is and if you can take them. And if that's even the right play, right? That's not even the mistake, though. Right there, I mean, you guys just take inhib. The result is, like, unaffected by what you do. I don't think you guys are going to go any further than inhib there, even if you're there. So... The decision that really cost you guys the game is right here. And the reason that it cost you the game is... I'll get to it in a second. Let's take them out. Alright. So, I actually... I think the decision you make here, right after this, right? You've just taken out their whole team. All you need to do is go there, and the game's over. You guys just go end the game right there. The game is absolutely done. I don't know. Oh boy. I mean, you have to consider who's dead at this point, right? chasing chasing Janna or getting Raptors at this point, like
Yeah, if I just followed my Alawi down.
yeah. I mean, if you just go with Alawi down there,
Because
because
she
Swain
makes
should be
it.
able to.
Because she makes it.
Yeah, because Swain should be able. Oh boy, this is. Yeah, just go
And Camille
and
had
just end the game.
TP.
Because because everyone's dead except Janna, and then Jax is already on their base, right? Like nobody's gonna stop you from ending that game. Absolutely no one. You just need to end that game, and that's it. That's an example of one decision to change the outcome, right? That's just one. I'm sure there are other decisions in the game too, like if you're positioned in the right spot in a couple of those fights, or anything like that, and then it's just a completely different game as well. So I think we got what we needed for today, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
Oh, that game. Wow. Yeah, I think what I'm so tilted about is, again, I didn't power my Q, or I might have killed the Jax, but I think the minions still would have killed it anyway.